Hi, welcome to Business Time. I am Melisha. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. Today, we will be looking at the Management of Business, Unit 1, Paper 2, May June 2021 examination paper. All right, so let's get started. All right, so let's look at question 1, which is based on Module 1, Business and its Environment. Pridal Bottling Company, which produces bottled water, is located in Zen District on Joe Bloggs Island in the Caribbean. Close to 50% of the employees are residents of Zen District. Pridal contributes to a homework program and is the sponsor of the Zen football team. The government plans to shut down all bottled water producers that sell regular tap water as purified water. At Pridal's annual board meeting held in February 2020, the directors were happy they had adhered to strict ethical business practices. This meant that they did not need to be bothered by the government's attempt to close down illegal water producing operations. They decided that since the business had achieved its strategic objective of earning 25% profit per year for the last 5 years, they would create a new strategic objective, that of becoming a global firm. To accomplish this, the company would start exporting to 2 other Caribbean islands by November 2020 and to 2 South American countries by August 2022. The first question says A. Outline 2 ways in which Pridal Bottling Company could benefit from its ethical business practices. And take note that this is 4 marks, so it means that for each way that is outlined, it will be 2 marks each. Good? And you must remember what you need to do when you're outlining something. First, you must state your point and you give a brief explanation of your point that you have highlighted. Good? So 2 ways in which Pridal Bottling Company could benefit from its ethical business practices. So let's look at possible answers for this question. So the first one is that they could gain customer loyalty, right? And of course, if you highlight a point, remember it's asking you to outline, so you must give a brief explanation or expand on your point. The company will be able to retain customers as they will know that they can always rely on the company to offer quality products, right? So with highlighting the point, the way that Pridal Bottling Company could benefit from its ethical practices and expounding on it, you would get the 2 marks. And another way that could be highlighted, low labor turnover. The company will not have a lot of workers leaving because all workers would be treated fairly. And of course, a business that practices that is ethical in its practices will certainly treat its workers fair, pay them fair wages, ensure that they have proper working conditions, things like those. So what will happen is that you will not find workers leaving that workplace. Like in some business places, workers leave very regular, which is a sign that something is not right. There you go. So again, when you're outlining something, you must state your point, and you don't just put your point down or just list your point, but you also need to expound on your point. Good? At least give a brief explanation for you to get the 2 marks. Great. So let's look at question B. It says, explain 3 challenges that Pridal Bottling Company could face when it begins to export its products. No. Can you think of any challenges that a company could face? All right, let's look at the answer. And again, take note, it says explain 3 challenges. Let's see how many marks this is. 9 marks, so that's 3 marks each. For explaining it, 3 marks each. Now, of course, you'll get 1 mark for highlighting a challenge, and now you will have to work for 2 additional marks for explaining it. So what you should do is make sure that you give 2 full thoughts or sentences explaining the challenge, each of the challenges that you have highlighted. Good? Because it's 3 marks each. So to make sure that you answer the question properly, one of the challenges with students is that you know the answer, you put down your point, but you've not explained it, or you've not written enough for you to get your full marks. And so we are not into that. So here we go. So for B, say for example, a challenge is a greater level of competition. So you could write, so for highlighting the point, that's 1 mark so far, a greater level of competition. Since the business will be operating in a bigger market, it is going to have to face new competitors, right? So like that, you would get an additional mark, right? Of course, in a new environment, there are other businesses that are selling the same things, or bottled water that Prudal bottling company is selling. So of course, they're going to have more competitors to deal with. This, therefore, means that the business may have to come up with more strategies to compete effectively in the other countries. So you have to make sure that your point, you explain it, and you give at least full, after highlighting your point, you give at least explain your point fully. So at least to make sure that you get those full marks, think of writing 2 more sentences. Even if you want to write 3 more sentences, that's fine. Do not make this mistake of just babbling and you have your point and you're not explaining your point. So you must stick to your point and be clear about it. Good. A second challenge could be increased costs with export duties, tariffs. The company may have to face increased costs that come with exporting, such as tariffs. This may cause the company to increase its costs, and so its bottled water may be more expensive in the foreign countries than other bottled water being sold in those countries. So you want to make sure, so you would get like a 3 marks for this. You want to make sure that you fully explain your point. Good. Another challenge could be difficulty understanding consumer behavior in other countries. So it may be a challenge for the business to have a good understanding of the buying behavior of consumers in other countries. So this may therefore take some time for the business to do the necessary research on consumers to understand their spending patterns so that they can capitalize on it to ensure that the business does well. And so so you want to explain your points fully because you're working for the 3 marks, right? So those are some possible 3 challenges. Remember, my answers are not limited to what could be, so there are many more answers that you could come up with. Okay, so let's go to C. Question C says, discuss the importance of the 3 corporate social responsibility practices demonstrated by Prudal Bottling Company in the development of Zen District. So remember now, this question is asking you to discuss the corporate social responsibility practices that the business carry out, how it helps to develop the Zen District. So take note that it's asking you to show how it has helped to develop the district, the community. This is worth, you see how many spaces they had given you? And this is worth 12 marks, right? And it's 3 corporate social responsibilities, so it's 4 marks each. So what you need to do is to use the number of marks that's allocated to each question to determine how much you should write. So that's a way that you can look at it. Good. Have you come up with, think about it, importance of 3 corporate social responsibility practices demonstrated. Can you think of the 3 practices? It was in the case. Let us look back at the case. Here what it says. Pridal contributes to a homework program and is the sponsor of the Zen football team. Also above that, it says close to 50% of the employees are residents of the Zen district. So right away you can pick up that those are the 3 corporate social responsibility practices of Pridal Bottling Company. So now what we are going to need to do is to discuss how the company carrying out those practices help to develop the district, the Zen district. Think about it. All right, let's look at the answers. So we highlighted the homework program, and remember it's 4 marks, so you get 1 mark for highlighting, for identifying the social responsibility practice. So you need to discuss it now, right? So you need to have basically 3 clear points that are fully discussed to get the additional 3 marks, because remember it's 4 marks for each discussion, for each practice that is discussed. Good. So for example, homework program. This program will help the children of a district to do well in school. When the children are educated, they will have a greater opportunity in the future to become employed or to start their businesses. When more persons are employed, the standard of living of the people will increase and the district will be better off. At all times when you're giving your answer, you need to link it to Zen district. How is Zen district benefiting? Zen district is benefiting because and there are many things that you can write about a homework program and how it will benefit the district. Some parents may not be able to help their children because they're not so educated, and so what this will do is help their children to, well, it will take some of the burden off the parents, right? So at least the parents can relax a little as their children will be getting help from this program. So you don't have to limit your answer to what is here. So there are many things that you can discuss about the homework program and how it's helping the community, the district, Zen district. Let's look at the other one. Sponsor of the Zen football team. The help from the company will cause the team to have all the equipment and resources it needs to be able to compete effectively. Young people from the district, so remember, you need to time your answer in terms of how it's developing Zen district. The young people from the district will have some recreational activity to be a part of rather than being idle with nothing to do. And when the young people are idle, they can get in trouble. So you can even put that in your discussion. So those who love football can be kept active and out of trouble. The district can then be united through the team and be able to look forward to having sporting events that can also be a source of income for residents. And whenever there's a sporting event, some residents will put up their stall and their thing, and they're able to make some sales. So you don't have to just stick to what is here, but you can show, and the thing with this as well is that you can relate to it, because these are things that you would likely see happening in your community, of course pre-COVID, that you could relate to and so on. right? So it's not that difficult. You just need to focus. Just make sure that you're answering what the question, you fully understand what the question is asking you to do. The other one, close to 50% of employees are residents of Zen District. So district will be impacted positively with the company hiring so many persons. This will help the people in the community to have a steady stream of income coming in. They'll be in a better position to take care of their families, right? And so especially like some parents, they don't have to go far, and then would have to spend money to have persons taking care of their children, that kind of thing. So this, make sure you fully discuss it. One of the things that I will say to you to ensure that you get the full 4 marks is to, after you've highlighted your point, then think of having like at least 3 full sentences supporting your point, just like what you see here. So you can have more than 3. Hey, you have nothing to lose. You just have your supporting arguments to support your point, right? But make sure that it's not less than 3, because you're working to get the full 4 marks, right? Excellent. So let's now go to question 2. Yes, we're at question 2. And it's based on module 2. So you see how the past paper is divided, and the syllabus has 3 modules, and a question is asked on each module. So module 2 is based on management of people, as you would see in the syllabus. Now question 2 says, student numbers at MB Business College have been declining for the past 3 years. The new president, Janice King, wants to increase student numbers and thereby the profitability of the college. Her areas of focus are strategic planning, worker motivation, and leadership. A says, outline one way in which each of the following could help President King to increase student numbers. So you're to outline how strategic planning could help President King to increase student numbers. You're to also outline how motivation, and take note here, in the scenario up top it had said worker motivation, so it'd be good for you to stick to worker motivation. How motivating the workers could help President King to increase student numbers. Notice it's 2 marks each. So remember, when you're outlining, you have to state your point and then you expound on your point, because it's 2 marks. Good? And you're not going to get a mark for strategic planning because strategic planning is already given. So think about it. I want you to think about it. See if you can come up with an answer. All right, so let's look at strategic planning. When President King plans strategically, everyone will know exactly what goal she wants to achieve and how the goal is going to be achieved. So that's like a 1 mark. So you want to expound on this some more. When the goal is carefully planned, it will be executed well to ensure the increase in student numbers. So you want to ensure that you have at least 2 full sentences supporting your outlining what strategic planning is and how, because you're to outline how strategic planning will help to increase student numbers. So you can see that when she plans strategically, the workers, it will help for everyone to know exactly how the goal is going to be achieved, what is going to be done. And when everybody is clear on what is to be done, guess what? There'll be less problems, mishaps, misunderstanding, and so everybody will be clear on what they're working towards, and so it will become easier for the student numbers to increase. Good. The next one is motivation. The president can give financial or non-financial incentives to workers, or you could put that the president can give financial incentives, whichever one you want to put, right? So these incentives could cause workers to work well and more efficiently. And when workers work more efficiently, the numbers will increase because they're going to do their best. So if they're teaching, they're going to teach well and ensure that the students learn, right? And so right there and then you'll get a 2 marks. So make sure that you have 2 solid points to explain each of these to get your full 2 marks. Good. So just jotting down, just writing at 1 point. Listen, that's just 1 mark. All right. So that's 2A. Let's move to the next part. 2B. Explain each of the following characteristics of a well-written goal that President King could adopt in writing the college's strategic goals. Include an example for each characteristic in your response. Good. So you're to explain on, and take note that it's 3 marks. So in explaining specific or achievable or time-bound, you have to ensure now that you have 3 developing points, right, to explain each of these characteristics, because you're not working to just get a 1 mark, you're working to get the full marks. Okay, you're working to get the full mark. Take a few seconds. Think if you can you come up with an answer for specific. Do you know what it means for goal to be specific? All right, let's look. So right here, it says specific, this is when a goal is clear and easily understood. It clearly states what is to be done and there's no ambiguity, right? Take note as well that it said, so you get like a 2 marks for having a 2 full sentences explaining what specific is. And also you're to include an example for each characteristics in your response. So your example could be to increase student numbers by 5% each year. So it is clear that every year the college is expecting to increase student numbers by 5%. So there's no confusion. It is clear, right? It is easily understood what the goal is. So achievable now means that the goal is attainable. It is not something that is impossible or is very or extremely difficult to be carried out. So for example, to increase student numbers by 5% at the end of each year, 5% is likely very realistic than if it was to be at 60% or something like that. So you want to make sure that whatever goal is selected, that it's something that is not impossible, right? So that's what it means, achievable. It can be done. Realistically, it can be done. Good. When the goal is to be time bound, this means that a specific time must be given for which a goal is to be completed or achieved. Everyone should understand that they are working within a specified targeted time. Good. And again, remember to put your example. To achieve a 5% increase of student numbers within 12 months, at least everyone will know that this is to be done within 1 year. So everybody will be working to ensure that this target is met within a year's time or within 12 months. Good. So it's time bound. So, and one of the things what's so important, that goals should be time bound, because when it doesn't have any time, people drag their feet, and when something could have been done within a month, within a week, it end up being done, completed within perhaps 6 months, and that is a waste of time, resources, especially money. Good. So again, when you're explaining and it's 3 marks, make sure that for two, at least you have two distinct sentences or full thoughts explaining what each of these characteristics of a goal is, and it asks for example, and the example tied in and give you the 3 marks. If you don't have any example, you're not going to get the full 3 marks, because they said that you were to include an example. So you have to make sure that you read your questions properly. If you need to draw a line, and that's something that I encourage persons to do. Listen, you're sitting in the exam, you're paid for the exam paper, so you can mark up the exam paper. Be free. Explain each of the following characteristics of a well-written goal, and you could underline that line, and where it says include an example for each, you could underline that part as well, because when you do this, it will help you to remember when you look back at the question while you're writing, because sometimes you didn't remember, and because you didn't take note of each of these things, you end up losing marks. So it's so important that you really look into the question and to see clearly what it is asking you to do. Okay, great. I hope you're feeling and seeing that the questions are not so difficult, right? You just have to study. Eh? Yeah, study everything. Yes, it's a lot, but it can be done. You just need focus and spend quality time doing it. So let's move to the final question for final part of question 2. President King's beliefs about workers is based on McGregor's theory Y on leadership. Based on McGregor's theory Y, discuss how 3 beliefs that President King is likely to have about workers could help MB Business College achieve its goal of increasing student numbers. So it's not asking you about theory X. I know you know about theory X. It's not asking you about that. Stick to theory Y. So it's asking you to discuss 3 beliefs, right? 3 things that President King is likely to have about workers. So you just need to highlight 3 characteristics of theory Y workers. What are they like, right? And discuss how, if President King believes that these workers have theory Y characteristics, then how will this help him to help her, President King is female, yeah? Help her to achieve the goals of increasing student numbers. Good. So it's important that you understand what the question is asking you for. And if possible, draw a line underneath it. Discuss 3 beliefs. So it's asking you for 3 beliefs. Draw a line right there. It's likely to have about workers, about theory Y. You underline that's theory Y. I know it can help to achieve its goal of increasing the college to achieve its goal of increasing student numbers. So you want to be clear, and you see the amount of lines they have. I don't know about line. Call it 2 pages for you to fill out, and it's 12 marks each. So you realize now that the discussion questions are like 4 marks per explanation per point that is highlighted to be discussed. Good. Can you think of any? What characteristics do you recall of theory Y workers? All right. So I just highlighted 3 characteristics. So the first one is that workers are self-motivated. So that's like 1 mark for highlighting the characteristic. Now you must discuss it because you now need to work for 3 more marks. I have to ensure that you have at least 3 more distinct sentences, right? Have a full discussion on it. These workers do not need incentives or any motivational strategy to do their job well. Yeah, they will undoubtedly do well at whatever they are given to do. If they are to teach, they are driven to do a very good job at teaching. Motivated teachers will be able to get their students to do well, which will help the college to be loved by many, and this will help to increase student numbers, because when the students are doing well, guess what's going to happen? The news is going to spread, just like bad news, eh? And when everybody hear, oh, the college has great teachers who are passionate about their job, and trust me, if you go there, they're going to do well, that kind of thing. Yes, man. So you just get yourself into the question, and you just have a full discussion on it, and make sure that you have at least 3 after you've highlighted the characteristic, and you get 1 mark for that. Then you give full 3 more supporting points to support the point here that you identified workers are self-motivated. So let's look at a second one. They will work on their initiative. Third, why workers will see something to be done and will get it done without having to be told to do so. These workers will take the initiative to even recruit new students for the college. They will help to ensure that the goal of increasing student numbers is achieved rather than not doing anything at all. So third, why workers, they're not just going to sit down and see that something is to be done and not do it. Once it's something that they can do, they're going to help, right? Another point is that they enjoy work. These workers think of their jobs to be relaxing and normal. No matter the workload, they will not feel overworked, but will take on the challenge to get it done, right? As a result, these workers, teachers, will not complain about their work, and so will be able to have classes that their students will enjoy. This will result in students wanting to attend classes and doing well. When this is done, more students will want to attend the college. So again, you must always link your answers to what the question is asking you. How will the workers being theory why, how will this help the business to achieve its goal of increasing student numbers, right? So make sure that your answers are linking every aspect or part of the question. Good. So we're on to the final question, which is question 3, and this is usually based on module 3, business, finance, and accounting. That's the final module for the syllabus, unit 1. MOB, business accounting, business, finance, and accounting. So let's look at the question. Pam Greenleaf and her son, Albert, own and operate Caribbean Eatery, a restaurant in Queenstown in the Caribbean island of Starkona. They love make up some nice false names, you see. They have never prepared financial statements for the business, as they have been kept busy with the day-to-day operations of the restaurant. Last month, the government of Starkona announced that it would be auditing small businesses to ensure that they submit accurate tax returns. Albert told his mother to compile a list of all the assets, liabilities, and owners' equity data for the year ended 31st December 2020. He plans to prepare the financial statements on the weekend in the event that the government officials visit the following week. So let's look at A. Students normally are a little reluctant to want to learn module 3, but it's not that hard. Especially if you did principles of accounts, it will be easier for you, right? So you don't have to worry. It's not the exam paper is not set for you to fail, but for you to do well. You just need to study and cover everything. Don't leave out anything on the syllabus. Don't leave anything to chance. Cover everything. All right. The first part of this question, A, define each of the following terms. Fixed assets, 2 marks. owner's equity, right? Take a few seconds, see if you can come up with the definition. All right, let's go. Fixed assets. These are assets that the business owns and are not intended to be sold or used up in the short term, usually within a year. These as short term usually refer within a year, right? These assets are used to generate income for the business and will not be converted into cash quickly. So remember now, for assets, you have fixed assets, you have current assets. Like current assets are like cash, bank, stocks, and those things. Those are used up within a year. But when it comes to fixed assets, they are used to help produce or make goods, machinery, equipment. Because if you run a bakery, you're not going to buy your oven or whatever it is, your mixers, and sell it. You buy them to use to help to produce your cakes, your buns, your whatever you do make, right? So those are fixed assets. Owner's equity. This is the proportion of the total value of a company's assets that can be claimed by the owners. It is what remains after liabilities are taken from assets. So let's look at part B now. Other than complying with government regulations, explain one reason why the Greenleafs should prepare each of the following financial statements. So 3 marks again, and you're asked to explain, underline, explain when you have it in the exam paper, so you know what you're asked to do. One reason is 3 marks, so you must have 3 points here, right, to get the full 3 marks. Like 3 sentences explaining why Greenleaf should prepare the income statement or the statement of financial position, or otherwise called balance sheet. 3 seconds. Well, not exactly 3 seconds. Give you a few seconds to think about it. All right, let's go. Income statement. This will show whether the restaurant is making a profit or a loss. Since the income statement will show all the income and expenditure of the business, it will help the business to see clearly if its expenditure is greater than the income. This will guide the owners to see what expenditure they can cut or how they can increase their income to make sure that the business stays in operation. So it's critical for the business to see, what their expenses are like compared to the income that the business has, and make the necessary adjustments where needed or as is necessary. Good. Let's look at statement of financial position, or the balance sheet, otherwise called the balance sheet. This will help them to see the financial position of the business. This will show the total assets, capital, equity, and liabilities of the business. They will be able to compare assets to liabilities or capital or equity to see how well the business is doing. If, example, liabilities are greater than the capital or assets, then they will have to implement a plan to reduce the liabilities, right? So these financial statements are so important. The other one, the statement of cash flow. This will help them to see how the cash is being used in the business. This statement will show the total cash inflows that the business gets from its operations and cash outflows to pay for business activities during a given period. Therefore, proper analysis can be done of how the business is spending its cash to make necessary adjustments as is necessary, and to make sure that proper spending is being done. So you don't want to be indebted at the end of the day and spending more than what you're earning. Yeah, like some persons live above their means and end up in some serious debt. So at least it will inform the business and help the business to make good decisions. Yeah, we're at the final one. You hear I sound tired? Yes. Oh, my word. The following balances were compiled from the source document of Caribbean Eatery for the year ended 31st December 2020. So here you see some of the items listed: sales, purchase returns, trade payables, all of that. It has some additional information down here. So make sure you read the additional information before you attempt the question as well. Ending inventory was calculated at $2,000. Telephone charges still outstanding. You have to take note of these key things here. They are so important in your calculations. In December, $1,000 was prepaid to water rates. Take note of this prepaid as well. So what is it that you're to do? Use the information above to prepare a statement of comprehensive income for a Caribbean Eatery for the year ended 31 December 2020. All right, so let's go to the question, to the solution. Alrighty, so we're here. So let's look at the question again. So you are to prepare a comprehensive income statement. Listen, you have to make sure your heading is properly done. You get marks for all of these things. So you have the name of the business, Caribbean Eatery, and the name of the statement here, statement of comprehensive income. And you must put the period for the year ended December 31, 2020. So remember that the income statement is a summary of a business's revenues and expenses over a period of time. Good. So in other words, what you're really required to do is to, well, when you prepare the income statement, you're seeking to take away all the business's expenses from its revenue to see if the business makes a profit or a loss. So let's go. So the first thing, of course, you have your 3 column. So the first thing that you have is your sales. This should not be strange to you if you have done principles of accounts already. You would have learned this already. So this is not new to a lot of you. This is just like a refresher. All right, so sales. The first thing you would put down is your sales, and it says here over here in the question, sales is 56,900. Good. Normally you would less your sales returns. We look in the question, there's no sales returns, so it's 0, and you put it in bracket once it's something that you would have to take away. Good. So the net sales is still 56,900, and you want to rule it up and have it as neat as possible. Good. So your net sales is 56,900 for the business. The next step would be less cost of goods sold. So to even find out what the cost of goods sold is, you will have to have your purchases, right? So what is it? Your purchases. What is it that what it costs you to buy your stocks or your inventories, right? So your purchases over here, it says purchases is 17,215, and you must add your freight in charges to your purchases. Your freight in is the transportation cost, what it costs you to transport your raw material or your goods from the business suppliers, from the suppliers, right? So you add your freight costs, and the net purchases total 18,510. Now the next thing for you to do is to subtract your purchases returns. Now, for those of you who might not remember what purchases returns is that these are goods that are returned to the supplier. So the business might need to return supplies, goods, things that it stocks, goods that it got from the supplier because it might have been damaged or defected or something, right? So different reasons. Just like sales returns, our customers may need to return goods to us. So you subtracted less purchase returns from the net purchases, and the purchase returns is 1,585. Good. 1,500 once it purchases returns up here, 1,585. When you subtract that, you get 16,925. And also, when you do get that figure, you're going to need to less your ending inventory. So it's the value of the stock or your product that remains at the end of the accounting period. So your ending inventory is $2,000. Where's that figure? So in the additional information here, it said ending inventory was calculated at 2,000. Good. So you calculate, you subtract the ending inventory less ending inventory, and then you'll get your cost of goods sold figure, which is 14,925. So your cost of goods sold figures really gives you the direct cost of producing the goods that you sell, and you're going to subtract it now from your net sales, and the figure that you get will be the gross profit, which is 41,975. Good. But there was something else here that discount received, that's additional income, discounts received, or discounts the business received from a supplier. So maybe the business was able to strike a deal with a supplier and pay for the goods. Maybe the business was able to pay for the goods right away or within a short period of time, and they were able to benefit from discounts. And so in this case it's 1,891. So this is added to get a total income of 43,866. Now the next thing now is to look at the expenses. Good. So we're gonna less the expenses. So we see some expenses here. Rent paid 3,600, electricity 23,000, insurance 2,460, telephone we see 1,230. But however, something here about telephone charges and additional information, and we need to take note of that. It said telephone charges of 270 are still outstanding. Good. So that needs to be paid for, so we have to add this, right? So the total telephone charges is 1,500. Water rates 4,986. However, there's something about water rates here. It says in December $1,000 was prepaid to water rates. Now when you're prepaid, it means future expenses were paid in advance, so we did not need to cover those prepaid amounts in this period. So guess what? You take out back your $1,000, right? Because that is not an expense for this period. The business just choose to prepay it and pay in advance. But we need to see the actual expense for this period. Good. You have delivery charges, delivery to customers 1,260, cooking gas bill 3,500, advertisements 1,684. So your total expense, when you add up all of these, the 3,623, all of this here in this column under expenses, you should get 40,990, which is the total expense. And of course, now to find out if you make a net profit or a loss, you need to subtract your total expense from your total income. And so the 43,866, taking away the 40,990 from it, you will have a positive of 2,876, which means that the business made a net profit of 2,876. All right, great. So this is it for the MOB Unit 1 2021 past paper. I hope that this helped you a lot. Please put your comment. Please comment in the comment section so I can know how much this has helped you. Hope you really did learn something. See you next time. Bye bye.